So, excuse me. So, as we get going here, there's a couple things that I want to point out. In the upper right-hand corner, we've got a brand new logo. Um, what you see there is the small circle and the larger circle representing the idea of going from acorn to oak tree, or from idea to product. And that is really the thrust of today's discussion. And that is all about the Steinel DCS. The other thing I'll point out here is you'll notice the trademark. We've actually trademarked the name DCS, Steinel DCS, so both versions of that. But the DCS stands for our Digital Control Solution, and Thurston and I will be getting into more detail about that in just a minute. So, as part of our new rebranding, for those of you who are not as familiar with Steinel, this may be your first time hearing about us. We've got a tagline: "We are the inventors company." We are really proud to think of ourselves as people who think outside the box and look at things that are already there that people take for granted, and try to add more value, bring more features and more functions, while always being mindful of the cost and keeping the cost in line. And I think that's what you'll see from us here today. We're just digital done better. If you've been following us the last couple of months, we've done a couple of really great webinars. I recommend you go back and click the links and go watch those, because we've got some really good standalone solutions. They're great, world's best, and in many cases, you actually don't need to go to a digital solution in order to meet code. But the world has sort of just migrated that way somewhat mindlessly in a way, because sometimes it's easier, but we do really have some of the world's best sensors and technologies for standalone control solution that are extremely cost effective. But that's not today's conversation. Today's conversation is about the DCS, and a couple more things. We've really worked on making it easy to install, easy to commission, and we kind of take things from the perspective of the end user and the installer, and make sure that everything works simply and easily. And also, we're extremely proud of the product quality that our name communicates, because we test everything. We manufacture everything in Europe. We quality control every step of the process. We are vertically integrated. We make our own plastics. We make our own circuit boards. We do our own assemblies. We don't outsource any of that. We don't do any of that in China. We do it all within Europe. Very tightly controlled by a very strict German quality management program, where we test every single piece of equipment coming off the line to make sure it conforms to what we claim in the cut sheets. So really, really important to us that what you get works when you get it. All right, but let's get into the product itself. So the DCS, this is a terrific solution, and one of the things we're really excited about is, while a lot of folks have come to market with similar types of solutions that are all kind of similar in a lot of ways, what we've done here, I think, has put together a unique set of capabilities into a single box that I don't know that anyone else has really done. And we've had the advantage of being second mover, if you will, and coming in and seeing what the others have had to add and bolt on and duct tape on to their solutions. We've got it all in the box. The energy codes have gotten very advanced and more complex, and we now have a single solution that does it all, and very cost effectively. So just to give a quick rundown of some of the highlights. We use a digital bus. This is really important. We use a two-wire, non-polarized digital bus, which allows for very easy installation. Basically, you have two wires. You just stab into the two terminal blocks, and then you stab into the two terminal blocks on the next device, and that's it. No Cat5 cables, no RJ45 terminations. We don't have pre-cut wire lengths that you need to use, and we don't have to do field terminations with 6, 8, or more small wire connections. We found from the field that that is the #1 cause of pain and suffering in most Cat 5 type install solutions, is that the terminations wind up being faulty, and the commissioning agents end up spending a lot of time trying to figure out which ones are faulty and re-terminating. So we've eliminated that whole concern. So at install, the contractor just simply stabs in a wire on both ends, and you're good to go. No issues. We provide wireless programming, so we have available on there a Bluetooth connection. So there is a Bluetooth wireless communication protocol, so you can use your phone or tablet to communicate back up to the device. Really simple, iOS or Android, both. So really easy. You can program from the floor. You don't have to have access to the device. It can be up in a plenum, no problem. We have predefined and custom use case generation. So this is a great attribute where you can basically come in, you can program a room, commission a room, and then you take that programming and you can just copy paste it to the next room. So as you go, you may have a specific customization for let's say a classroom, and you want it to be programmed a certain way with certain scenes programmed at certain light levels, and you can just basically use that in every room as you go. You just save it, and then you now have that use case. Really great stuff. And we'll be building over time, of course, a library of predefined use cases that we'll have available that we can send out to you. You can load them up through your device. We can email them to you. You can load them up through your device, and then now you have a predefined use case that might, for example, meet specific code requirements. Or as the code requirements change, we'll reprogram the use cases, and then you're ready to go. So we're preparing for the inevitable changes that always happen. I think probably the very biggest differentiator in this product versus what you're going to see from everybody else in a 3-relay device, 3-zone controller, we have 3 independent 20-amp relays, whereas most of the other competitors, what they'll do is they'll divide one 20-amp relay across 3 zones. Why is this such a huge advantage? Well, first off, with 3 20-amp relays, we can support a much larger lighting load. So if you've got a large common area with one controller, we can handle a much larger set of fixtures. So that's a big benefit right there. Secondly, what it allows us to do is with a single device, for example, if you have a multi-zone room, and you wanted to use this one controller to control those 3 rooms, one of them might be a 277-volt circuit, the other might be a 120-volt circuit. So you can independently on each of the different relays, you can go 120 or 277 on each of the different relays. So within one box, we can handle multiple voltages. So really strong differentiator there. Comes into play, and especially in things like if I've got a 277-volt set of lighting, I've got some accent lighting at 120 volt, and I've got a plug load that I want to control at 120 volt. I can do all 3 of those different zones with one controller here. I've also got the ability, because I've got 3 relays there, I can give you current monitoring on each relay. So most of the competitor product will give you current monitoring per controller. I've actually got the ability to give you current monitoring for each of those circuits. And of course, we've got 3 independent 0 to 10 volt dimming zones, which attach up to those. So you can both on, off, and dim up, down on those circuits. We've got receptacle control, as I mentioned, because they are each 20 amp independently rated. We can control receptacles with those as well. Multi-zone daylight harvesting or daylight control. So with each of the different zones, you can connect a different photo cell, and you can have your own different daylight harvesting settings for each of the different zones. Min-max dim levels, hold off, force off, partial on, partial off. And some of the biggies that are unique here, we do have demand response capability built into each of the relays, and we've got, or excuse me, to the device, and we've got the astronomic and regular time clock functions. This is a huge, huge benefit. So in the standard device here, we have both input for an external time clock. So if there happens to already be a time clock in place, you can interface from it to our device. If you've got a master time clock out there, we've got basically a dry contact closure input. And we've also got an internal time clock. And the internal time clock is set when you're commissioning the device. We take the location of the commissioning tool. So you've got the phone, and the phone's location will basically download the correct set of astronomic tables, and we'll upload those up into the device during commissioning. So now you have astronomic and regular internal time clock functions built into the device. Wireless BLE mesh connectivity. So we've already got the wireless communication from the commissioning device up to the DCS. Now you've also got the ability for the different DCSs to interconnect via Bluetooth and create a mesh network. What is so interesting and exciting about that? Well, what if I would like to take a large installation that has multiple different DCS devices? I can put a master on-off switch for the entire location that goes across the DCSs, but I can program a single button that will allow me to turn off all the lights in, say, a restaurant, like a fast food restaurant. If I wanted to turn off the dining room, the kitchen, the bathrooms, the manager's offices, the coolers, all at once, the outside site lighting, whatever I wanted to do, I could program a single button on there that is the master backdoor switch. And as I'm walking out the door, I can hit on off, hit the off button, and all the different DCSs go and turn off all their different zones. So Bluetooth interconnectivity is a great little feature. And we've got BMS integration via BACnet TCP/IP. All of this goes into the main device, and roughly, you're looking at a list price that's going to be, we haven't finalized our pricing yet, but all in with everything you see here, we're going to be under $400 to the contractor, which our market research suggests with a time clock feature, we are way below market at that point. And even as we price out certain projects, we're already doing layouts and quotes. And for the layouts and quotes we're doing, we're finding that we're able to come in very competitive against most of our competitor products. You see an asterisk there on the bottom on a couple of devices. Those features will not be available in the first release here coming up in July. We're looking at a date shortly after that, but for the initial rollout here, as we start fulfilling projects within the next 30 days or so, we will begin to add those features in. But for the first 30 days, the version that we're going to be shipping is going to be without the BLE mesh and the BMS integration. So,
Sean, we do have a few questions.
Absolutely, I thought we would.
The first one is, does the current monitoring function provide reading of actual value in amps?
I'll take that one. It does. It shows you the voltage on relay 1, relay 2 and 3. You have to put what the voltage is, but it'll automatically read it on relay 1, and then it shows the amps and the watts, and it does a few other calculations there for you also if you select them.
Okay, second question. Does the device have any battery backup that would help keep time correct in case of an interruption to power?
It does. It has a little coin cell battery that's within the device itself. So no additional batteries or anything like that are needed.
Where is the BACnet TCP/IP connection located?
It's on the bottom of the device, and I think later in the
Yeah.
slides, there's
Next slide. It's on the next slide. Yeah.
There you go. It's on the bottom, number 9.
And then the last question is, how do you program without BLE mesh? Oh, it's not the last question because there are now a couple more after that. But so for the first one, how do you program without BLE mesh?
So we program directly to each device with BLE. So the BLE mesh is the interconnectivity of the different devices to each other. So in the traditional way, if you walk into, let's say, just sticking with the classroom example, if I walk into the classroom, I will pick up the nearest BLE devices and I'll program the one that's here, right? And I also have some other indicators, but basically you'll walk room to room and program each device as you go. The BLE mesh would allow you to see all the BLE, all the DCS units together at the same time across the network, reading one to the next, extending across the network. But the regular BLE programming is not reliant on the mesh. So,
is the BLE mesh SIG qualified or is it proprietary?
Thurston, do you have an answer on that one?
I have to look at the what you just asked there. As far as for the encryption, it's a AES 128 encryption.
We have quite a few questions, so I'll just ask one more just to keep the presentation going, and then maybe we can answer the rest of the questions privately. Just last question for now, will the product be available at 347 volts?
Unfortunately, no. In this release, we're not going to be including 347 volts. We know that's a common request that comes out of Canada. We have opened up representation in Canada, and we're aware that we need to develop the 347 version of the product. But for this first release, it's strictly 122.77.
I'll speak to that shortly, though. Don't let that hold you up, because we can still power the device, for example, with 120, and then we can have it control, for example, contactors or something like this to be able to switch your 347 volt. So don't let that hold you up, and I'll help you and direct you in the right manner in order to make it happen.
Excellent. Thank you, Thurston. Okay, so as Casey said, we'll get moving along, and we'll certainly try to power through this a little bit, get to the end, and have time for questions. You know, with 176 attendees on a webinar like this, you know, of course, we're going to have a lot of questions, and we may not have time to address them all. But we'll also do our best to summarize them and answer them all, and then get that sent out to all of you who attended today. So, okay, so moving on, the physical feature and layout of the device. You can see you've got the line voltage coming in on one. You've got a little latch door and a couple of test buttons there. You've got your low voltage terminal set of terminals there, which include the 3 0 to 10 volt outputs. It includes the 2-wire data line. It includes the demand response. And it includes the time clock input. So that's what you see going from top to bottom, right to left there. It mounts by a 1/2-inch threaded nipple with a couple of lock nuts provided. You've got a couple of LED, one LED indicator there that gives you status updates. You've got a reset button, an RJ45 backnet port, and a channel for low voltage wiring. So one interesting thing, obviously we've got separation. We've got low voltage coming in one side, which would go into the junction box, and then you've got the low voltage output that runs through the plenum. And of course, no presentation on control solutions would be complete without a wiring diagram. So as I just described, you've got the three inputs coming in from the left, the voltages, the line voltage on the left-hand side and the low voltage on the right-hand side. And as described, the data line, the demand response, the time clock going out to our devices there. So there gives you an overview of how it wires. And here is the stable of products that we have available for sensors and switches. So on the left-hand side, we start with what's new. On the right-hand side, you can see, for those of you who are familiar with our line, these are the trusty Digital Control Pro series. You know, the IR Quattro, the IR Quattro HD, the US Quattro, US One-Way, US Hallway, DT Quattro. So all those great sensors with the great coverage patterns, the IR Quattro with its 4,800 points of detection, and the US Hallway with its long range. The great news is we have not given up any of that. We have all the same technical advantages on sensors and coverage patterns as we've always had. But now we've added to it over here a little bit of firepower. We have heard in the past a few complaints. I've never quite understood it myself, but some people claim that the IR Quattro is bulky. Some people, for their sensibilities, they find it ugly, or for a specifier who's very concerned about the look of and flow of the ceiling, it sticks out more than they would like. So we have developed here two new offerings that are the very slimmest, slickest, smallest sensors out there. So the IR Quattro Slim, really nice, smooth design, barely protrudes off the ceiling at all. Still gives a really great coverage. It's a smaller coverage area than the IR Quattro HD, but a very similar type of coverage pattern. So you get very tight presence control, but in a smaller area. And with the IR Micro, that is one of the smallest sensors I've ever seen. It is basically about a 1 1/4 inch disc and about a thumbnail-sized lens that barely protrudes from the ceiling at all. Coverage pattern on that is a little bit smaller and not quite as dense as the IR Quattro HD. We've got a dedicated photo cell, and we've got an array of wall switches, which we'll dive into a little bit more. So feel free to load up the questions, but let's take a look at these first, because we'll probably have answers to many of your questions on the next few slides. All right, so I was gushing about the IR Quattro Slim. You can see the dimensions there. 3.1 inches square with rounded corners. It mounts 2 inches deep, and you can see the lens there is, probably something like maybe 2 inches square. Gives you 408 points of detection in a very small space. Yeah, really, really tight detection, really strong presence detection, not just occupancy or vacancy. Very, very thin 6 millimeter protrusion down off the ceilings, flat lens design. You've got the nice square coverage pattern. Yeah, 13 by 13 in terms of presence detection. You can go a little bit bigger if tangential motion is enough. And it's got the integrated photo sensor as well. So really nice sensor, really good looking, great response to specifiers who don't like the bulkiness of the shape and design of some of the older sensors. Moving to the Micro, even smaller design. You can see there across the front face, 1.69 inches, tiny. You can see there the two dolly connectors that we use for the 2-wire digital bus. One's an in and the other one's an out, so you can run serial to the next device. but you got the spring clips there to hold it in place. It is plenum rated. You just stick it right up there. It does not need to be mounted to a junction box or anything like that. It's passive infrared. We apologize. We know our competitors only give somewhere between 50 and 100 switching zones typically in their top of the line sensors. We like to blow that away by a factor of 10 or 100, but this one only just beats it 168 to 100 in terms of switching zones. So really micro lens. That lens is roughly just a little more than a ½ inch wide. Really, really tiny. So if you're looking for smaller than small, the smallest small thing that you've ever seen, this might be it. This might be the smallest standalone mounted sensor. It's essentially, what you would get in a fixture mount, but we've put it in a ceiling mount design. So really simple, easy. It also does have the benefit of being IP65 rated when mounted. So the front panel is, obviously the connections, those little dolly connectors in the back are not necessarily IP65 rated, but mounted into a ceiling, you can power wash that baby, no problem. Let's move to the next one. The photo cell. So very cool open loop, closed loop photo sensor. And you can see there you've got the two fields of control. So you would mount it towards a window with the front window looking at, or the front lens looking at the window, and the main lens looking down at the surface. So you've got open loop, closed loop capabilities both. And Thurston, why don't you share just a brief interlude? I know you get very excited about this. So why don't you tell everybody about how it calibrates in the field?
Yeah, so daylighting has been one of those things that's been a problem for a long time. So we wanted to make this very simple and very accurate for you. Whenever you get ready to set this up, it uses the light meter in your smartphone to allow it to be able to go through a calibration phase. And whenever it goes through the calibration phase, it also calibrates to a professional light meter. Whenever you get ready to set it up, you'll go to calibrate. You'll put what foot candle level you want at desktop, say 30-foot candles, something like this. The next step, then it'll ask you to give an input of what your light meter is reading. You put in that value and then you hit start. And then what it does is it goes through a process where it turns the lights off and it takes a measurement using your smartphone. Then it turns them on. It turns them on at 1 volt. It takes a measurement, goes to 2 volts, takes a measurement, all the way up, all the way through the 10 volts. And then whenever it is finished, it'll say complete, and it'll dim your lights down to whatever level that you specified, say 30-foot candles, for example. So it makes it a very easy way to be able to commission and do your daylighting set points. Another function of it is the plug and play feature of it makes it such that if the system recognizes if the photo cell is connected, and when it is, it assigns it to zone 1 and then automatically sets it to a point where it's somewhere roughly between 30 and 50-foot candles at desktop. If you want it to be very, very accurate, then you have to go through that commissioning process that I just explained.
So before we move on to switches, Casey, do we have any questions on the new sensors?
There are not.
There are not. All right, then let's get right to it.
You inspired somebody. Someone just wrote. We got one. It is, can you use a DIM 24 sensor with the integrated photo cell as well, and use the PC occupancy from a single device versus using 2 devices when needing daylighting in the space?
Yeah, great question. So the 24-volt devices are separate and they don't communicate digitally. That's the reason that we made digital type sensors. So for example, if you want to use our Dual Tech or our Quattro HD sensor, they look exactly the same, except they connect onto the bus. All of them, every single sensor that we make, every single presence detector that we make also has the photo cell, and yes, you can use it within those spaces. However, it's very common that the best location for a sensor isn't the best location for a photo sensor. And that's the reason that we have the two separate cases. But in a small room, for example, where you only have a single zone of daylighting or something like this, absolutely you can use the photo sensor in our regular presence detectors to achieve that.
Excellent. Okay, so the switches. We've got a couple of things to talk about on switches. So this is the new switch that we're rolling out. These are really very, very cool touch-sensitive glass-faced switches. So they currently come in with a white background. We don't have multiple colors at this time. They are available potentially. We will be looking into providing other colors, but for the time being, we are limited to white. And these have a great glass face programmable switch. So the nice thing about the glass face, especially in the current environment, everything is backlit and back engraved, so you can sanitize these to your heart's content. You can sanitize them every 15 minutes, and you will not do any damage to the engraving and lettering that you see there. So that's a very handy little feature given the state of the environment. Now, we've got three types of switches depicted here. These are the ones that we've brought into stock. We've got actually 10 different versions of switches that are available for purchase that are standard. But these three are the ones that we're keeping in stock. And you can also order a completely customized switch. So you see down there on the bottom, for example, that would be a two-zone 4-button switch. You could have those custom set. You could also customize the one on the upper left, for example. You may want to change S1, S2, S3. In a classroom, you may change those to study, lecture, and test as three different scenarios that the teacher might just want to be able to pop a button and have the classroom adjust to a certain light level. But as we go through these, we'll show you kind of what they all will look like. Scrolling down a little bit on the next slide, you've got our collection of one-zone switches. So you've got a one-zone blank, a one-zone on-off, and a one-zone dimming switch. On that dimming switch, what's cool, you tap that slider bar anywhere in the middle, and that's where the light level comes on. So you can auto dim to 3/4, just tapping 3/4 of the way up the bar there. And of course, you've got a master on off. Sliding down to 2 zones, you've got essentially the same array of those three, but in 2 zones on the next slide. And what we're bringing into stock up front right now for July are those. What we won't have in stock at launch, we will eventually be stocking as we see the increasing demand. But we've got a multi-zone, a 2-zone on-off, and a 2-zone dimming. And then as we move next to the 3 zones, same configurations, but in 3 zones. And then last and certainly not least, the switch that has gotten the most acclaim in our initial rollouts and webinars here is what we call the 13-button switch. It's sort of like the everything bagel. You've got 3 zones of on-off and up-down. You've got a master on-off switch, and you've got 3 zones available across the bottom. And again, customizable, but basically it's a very intuitive way to give the user full control of all 3 zones of the DCS. One master button to turn everything on all at once, and then the opportunity to use 3 zones. So great application for a classroom, larger office spaces, tons of great applications. And in the early stages of doing layouts, we've got probably about 30 layout requests in our queue that we've completed to some degree, and some are complete, some are not, but we're seeing a lot of great applications for the 13-button switch. So before moving on off of this case, any questions on switches at this point?
Definitely, we've got a bunch. I'm not sure if you're getting into list prices, but somebody did have a list price of a typical 2-button switch.
All the switches are the same because they're basically all the same technology, same material, same components, same everything. So list price is somewhere roughly under $100.
Okay, and then if the lights are dimmed and time out to off, do they come back on at the dimmed level they were at before turned off?
Yes, they do.
Okay. And then how long does it take to get switches engraved?
Yeah, so for the customized switches, we're looking at roughly an 8-week turnaround. We think we can probably squeeze a little bit out of that. It's somewhat of a new process, a new supply chain for us, but we can definitely commit to an 8-week turnaround. If there's an urgency to get it in 5 or 6, I would guess we might be able to do that as well. There is variable pricing based on quantity, right? So if you want to just have one switch that says Sean's office, there's going to be quite a heavy penalty for that. But if you decide you want all the classrooms, as mentioned before, to say, presentation, test, and study, there likely won't even necessarily need to be an upcharge for that as long as the volume is significant enough.
Okay. Do these switches fit in a normal sized wall box?
They do.
They
fit into a single gang wall box. The size of them is the same size as a single gang cover plate. So no additional cover plate or anything like that is needed. And it gives you the advantage of having the additional real estate. So in this case, then that's the reason that we can have, for example, 13 buttons on that switch.
And just a few more. Can you change and save scenes from the wall station?
Not from the wall station. You program the scenes through the app.
What kind of testing has been done on the glass for the keypads? Shatterproof ratings, etc. If the glass breaks, what are the results?
Yeah, so it's a 2-part construction. There's a back part that has the power supply in it, and then there's pin connectors that go between the power supply part and then the front part that has the glass. So in the event that there was something that was damaged, broke, shattered, something like this, then the front plate snaps off and you can snap on another one.
Okay. Can multiple room controllers be networked to allow control to more than 3 zones from a switch?
Yeah, Sean hit on that a little bit earlier. Yes, that's the intention. In the very first pieces that we put out, the mesh, so the wireless function of the mesh, isn't going to be released in that. That will come shortly after. The other way, in order to be able to connect them together, is through the backnet port.
All right. Just 2 more. Can you confirm that the engraving is an additional price, not included?
Engraving, so we have the standard switches that Sean just presented, but if you want customized switches, we have separate pricing for that, and it depends on the quantities that are there. And when we establish pricing and provide it to everyone, we'll have that. Additionally, whenever you get ready to do the customized switches, we'll have a form where you fill out basically that puts all the text that you want on the switches.
Okay. Maybe let's just do one more for now. Can these be wired or controlled as a 3-way?
Yes, absolutely. You can connect multiple switches together in 3-way, 4-way. You can have different types. You can have different switches doing different functions, or you can have them doing exactly the same functions.
Okay. So we can hold off on the questions if we have time at the end. Maybe we can pop back to some of these. But We'll
Great.
stop now.
Thanks, Casey. All right. One more item related to switches that we left. We have another solution which we call the switch coupler. It's a third-party source device, as you can see in the picture there. But we have tested it and certified it. We'll be providing it through Steinel in the US. And basically, this product, what it allows us to do is it allows us to take an ordinary momentary contact switch, run the wiring into those 4 switch inputs, and then we can run a 2-wire data line back to the bus. So if the $100 or so programmable wall switch is more than you really need and you just want to put a simple momentary contact switch, or if you're retrofitting into an existing double gang box and a single gang switch solution is going to look wonky, you can certainly go with this is an example of 2 single pole dual throw momentary Decora style switches, which would fit into a normal faceplate. They might already be pre-existing, but we can wire them instead into our switch coupler here, and then the switch coupler connects it back up to the dolly bus. So this is a great way to either maintain a consistency of look throughout a space that might want the traditional Decora style switch, as well as kind of solving for if you want to do a 4-gang, multi-gang, whatever type of scenario, you could just use a traditional Decora style switch. And it's also going to be significantly less expensive. Those products you see there on the right-hand side, obviously significantly less expensive. And the switch coupler there also significantly less expensive. I don't have list pricing on that just yet, but think on the order of $50 or something. All right. All right, and just a quick overview. I think in the interest of time, this presentation is dedicated to the digital control solution. There's really nothing new to talk about on the Control Pro line here, other than they are now available in digital. So effectively, the only difference you'll really notice is the backplane will have a 2-wire dongle coming out, as opposed to a array of wiring options in the traditional standalone. And again, if you want to learn more about these, we covered them in deep detail in our more recent webinar on standalone controls. But these are world's best: Highlight, IR Quattro HD, and US Hallway. You can't beat those as far as coverage goes. But in the interest of sticking to topic and getting through all this, let's move on here.
Yeah.
All right. Plug and play operation. Let's kind of make this a little bit quick. I'll give a quick overview, and then Thurston, maybe you can hit just a couple of the highlights from the bottom. But basically, out of the box, as I mentioned at the top, out of the box, it's plug and play. It works. It does not need to be programmed or commissioned in order to start working. Really great solution here. As soon as the installer installs it and connects all the devices, the DCS unit itself will recognize what devices are on there, and it will they come pre-programmed, factory preset to the settings you see there. Thurston, if you want to hit the highlights on how they're preset, that would be great.
Yeah, you bet. I'd love to. So what we wanted to do is, again, provide a code compliant solution. So we looked at ASHRAE, IACC, California Title 24, and we put together a group of a sequence of operation that would be compliant in those all of those areas. For example, classrooms, offices, this sort of thing. The system automatically recognizes what's connected to it. So, for example, if you connect an occupancy sensor, it recognizes that this is an occupancy sensor, and it puts it at a preset level. What we did is we set it for a 20-minute time delay. If it's an ultrasonic sensor or a dual tech sensor, we put the sensitivity at maximum. And then we set it for partial on at 50%. Now, you can change these things afterwards, but this is the preset. The photocell, it automatically recognizes that there's a photocell connected to it, it selects it for an open loop type of a function, and it assigns it to relay 1. After about 1 minute, it analyzes the room as soon as it's powered up. After about 1 minute, then the daylighting will begin, and it will give you desktop level at somewhere between 30 and 50 foot candles. The photocell is also set for hold off type of a function, not a force off function. And then the switches, depending on the switch type that you select, then you can have a specific sequence of operation that happens right out of the box. So for example, if you have one daylight zone, one general zone, and one receptacle load that needs to be controlled, you could choose the SS4, for example, and it would automatically do that. If you need 3 zones, separate zones of dimming and daylighting in zone 1, you could choose one of our 3-zone dimming switches, or the multi-switch, for example. So whenever you look at the different room types, simply by selecting the proper switch, then you can have a new plug-and-play sequence of operation. And then beyond that, then yes, you can use the use cases. But the simple plug-and-play, we tried to make it so that it's code compliant for all of these things. Demand response is also code compliant out of the box for the state of California. So it sets, when it receives the demand response signal, it's set it at a maximum 85% of design illuminance for that space. That's the base. There's other pieces, but those are the most important.
Awesome. So let's talk about some real life applications and some of the early designs that we've been working on. We picked a few highlights of some of the layouts that we've received in the last couple of weeks, and just wanted to show a couple of things that are kind of interesting, unique, different, better than what you might have seen before. So here we had a large office layout, and we snipped this little section here along a window of private offices. So you've got 6 private offices here in a row. I think there was 1 or 2 more. It might have been 8 or 9 in a row. And then, turned a corner and we had another row down the next bank of windows. But what you can see here is you've got a very light wattage load in each of those. So we did not necessarily need to have multi-zone daylight harvesting. But we do have in each of those 3 zones, we have a sensor, and the sensor has on board its own photocell. So you've got basically one DCS is able to cover the 3 different offices, and we've got the slim sensor, which is more than ample to cover that space. Plus, in that size space, you're going to get pretty much a presence detection level of detection with that sensor, and we put a single zone slide dimmer switch in each of those offices. So rather than going one DCS controller for each office, we went with 1 for 3. You're looking at, for these 6 offices here, you're looking at something on the neighborhood of roughly about $300 a room, give or take, in order to get full digital control. So really slick, using one DCS for 3 different offices. Look at the next example. In the same office environment, we had a corner office, which was a bit larger, slightly larger lighting load, slightly larger window configuration, and with multiple daylighting zones. So you can see on the right-hand side, we added a photo cell, and we used one DCS to control 2 rooms, one with 2 zones of daylighting control and one with a single setup, similar to what we saw in the previous example. So again, able to use a single slide dimmer to control for each room. So even though I've got 2 daylight harvesting zones, I can use the one slide dimmer to control both daylighting zones with manual override from the switch. Here we have a school with some bathrooms, and one of the interesting things about this, we've got the DCS controlling both the men's and women's, with a third relay available for the common exhaust fan. And then we've got a couple of unisex bathrooms on the ends where we went with a standalone, just a simple IR wall switch, right? So very simple solution there. So another example from our recent experiences. And then lastly, a classroom that had a couple of interesting things about it. So you can see here that actually we've got a photo zone. We've got a daylighting zone. That's a window in the back area there. And actually that's a two-zone area. There's actually two different lighting zones in there, which can both be controlled by that single photo cell. So you've got a really neat ability to use that photo cell and programmable step-down function to cover the primary daylighting zone in there, as well as the secondary daylighting zone within that little dash line. You've got a pair of DT Quattros, and you've got a 13-button programmable switch there. So again, really robust multi-zone configuration. You've got a powerful switch interface at the front of it. You've got, this kind of tricky multi-zone daylight harvesting requirement, and all of that is very easily straightforward met with 1, 2, 3, 4 devices. And then you've got an auditorium, right? So this is one of those really large spaces. We've got 3 zones, lots of light fixtures, big loads. So one DCS can actually control this entire auditorium. The mounting heights over the audience are going to be extremely high, and you've got the IR Quattro HD able to mount up to 32 feet. So we can cover that. And then you've got the 2 switches where you've got, multiple zones you might have, or multiple scenes. So you might have a scene where it's presentation or the act setup. You might have an audience entry, or you might have some kind of a lecture mode or something where you'd have a mixed lighting scenario. So all of that available, programmable, and again, very simply done with 6 IR Quattro HDs because of the great coverage range and mounting heights, 2 wall switches, and the DCS. That's it. So real simple, straightforward for what is sometimes a somewhat complex solution. All right, with that, before we go to the final round of questions here at the end, I will say we will have another webinar upcoming soon. It's not scheduled or calendared yet, but we'll be doing lots more of these. If you have a lot of really deep, detailed questions and want to learn at a deep level, we had a really wide audience today. So I just wanted to let you know, if you'd like for us to do a private screening, if you will, a classic lunch and learn for your firm or a small group of engineers, we're more than happy to have a very interactive. You can ask all the questions you want. We'll set it up through your rep agency and regional sales manager. Thurston and I are both available. So whatever you need. We're also doing layouts. So our layouts team is pretty much caught up. Our usual turnaround time is 2 to 3 days. Since we started talking about the DCS, our backlog has gotten really full, and we're up to about a 4 or 5 day turnaround now, which I still believe is above industry standards. So keep sending us more projects, keep sending us more things to look at. For the time being, we're doing most of the work ourselves. We are about to turn over, you can get the Bluebeam objects, you can do the layouts yourself. However, we're still holding back on pricing until our official launch in July. And at that point, we'll be rolling out the ability for everybody. We'll do a training on how to do layouts based on all the things we've learned over these last few weeks. But like I said, in the meantime, send us all the layouts you can, and we'll get them turned around for you. With that, Casey, what do we have for questions?
Yeah, we have quite a few questions. So I guess as a general announcement, as we're coming up on the hour, if we don't get a chance to answer your questions, your RSM will follow up with you directly on those. One question that was asked was about data sheets. So just for everyone to know, the data sheets are getting updated and we'll be uploading those today. So maybe wait till tomorrow just to make sure you have the latest version of the data sheet. And the presentation and the recording also will be emailed out to you, announcing when it's up on our YouTube channel. So we've got a live question, so I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. You may have to unmute yourself on your end, so go ahead. Sometimes people hit the raise hand button accidentally, but it looks like D. McDonald, you are self-muted. I'm going to take that question away. So one question, how is emergency lighting handled?
Yeah, so we have some separate UL 924 devices. They're through LVS. Many of you are probably familiar with them. And yes, there's shunt devices and transfer devices. There's 0 to 10 volt dimming devices and simple on-off devices also.
Okay, is the demand response capability Open ADR 2.0 certified?
The demand response takes a contact closure, so it doesn't communicate directly to the ADR.
Okay. Is there only one neutral wire on the room controller? If you have different voltages per relay, you need multiple neutrals.
Great question. Glad you saw that. Yes, it's true. We only have one neutral. The neutral is used to power our device. So the first relay, the input wire to the first relay, also powers our device, and we need a neutral for that. The other two contacts are dry, isolated contact closures. They don't have a neutral that comes to it. Yes, obviously you have to have a neutral to complete the circuit. But our device only has one neutral.
Okay, and D. McDonald, I do see that you're only self-muted, so if you can unmute yourself now, you can go ahead and ask your question. Okay, let's just do one more question. Can this be used for fire alarm or security input for the whole system?
Good question too. So there's a contact input. We previously called it a time clock input, but that input can be used for various other things, one of which can be a fire alarm. Whenever you do that, whenever you're programming the app, you create a sequence of operation when that contact closure happens. So for example, if you want the lights to go to full bright, whenever that contact closure happens, and disable the switches, disable the occupancy sensors, all of this sort of thing, you simply create the sequence of operation for the contact closure input. So now whenever it receives that input, it performs the action that you've created.
Okay, are there multi-gang switch plates available?
Yeah, so the glass switches themselves are just single gang. Again, they're the same size as a single gang cover plate, and they fit to a single gang box. If you need to do multi-gang, or there's an existing multi-gang box, either you have to put an adapter on there so that it goes to single gang. So in the past, maybe they had 2 separate switches doing 2 separate loads. And instead, this time, you're just going to use a single switch that has 2 zones on it. That's one possibility. But if you want to keep the same look, and you want to have multi-gangs, maybe you want to have 4 gangs there, and you want to have 4 separate switches. That's the whole reason that we are also offering that little adapter that he showed you before. We call it a switch coupler. And that switch coupler allows you to have 4 separate inputs to it. It takes those 4 separate inputs and then converts that onto the data line, so that we can have scene control and things like this from just simple contact switches. And if you need to use multiple ones, say that you have a 4-gang cover plate and you're using single pole double throw switches. So now you have 8 contacts possible there. You can use 2 of the switch couplers to accommodate those 8 contacts.
Okay, it's a few minutes past the hour, so like I said, we'll get, if you'd already asked a question, we'll get that regional sales manager in touch with you to answer directly. And if anyone needs to contact the regional sales manager, go ahead and look at steinel.net. And if you go to the menu sales, you'll see a map of the United States and Canada, and that will give you the phone number and email address of the Steinel representative to call. So Sean, if you want to go ahead and close it out, I think we're about ready.
Yeah, thanks everybody. This has been a really great interactive session. We appreciate all the interest, the comments, the questions. You know, we're really excited about this. This is a great turning point for our company. You know, those of you who know our brand know we make the very best, highest quality products, and we've been limited to just the standalone portion of the controls market. This opens up just a huge world for us. Where we can take everything that we know how to do really, really well and just do more of it and do it digitally. So we're really excited to work with you guys. And as mentioned, more than happy to, you know, continue our tradition of serving customers as best as we can. So whatever we can do as far as doing deeper dive training sessions with Thurston, we're more than happy to schedule those for you. Get us some layouts to work on for you. Get us some quotes to do for you. And, you know, we're just looking forward to getting out there and getting this thing out into the market. So we appreciate all the support from everybody, and thanks for coming out today. Just remember, stay safe. Thanks.